Welcome to the Infinite Wealth Podcast. I'm Cameron Christensen, along with our co-host Anthony Faso. We just wrapped up our interview with Sam Primm of Sam Faster Freedom. Anthony, you got to take away or two for us.
Yeah, honestly, it was a very fun interview. He did make fun of me quite a few times, but which I'm not a big fan of.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
I like giving it out. It's a little different than taking it. Sam was great. And what I really liked what he talked about is how he was able to use real estate creating financial freedom. You know, we talk a lot about that. And, you know, typically it's we need to start a business or own real estate. And if you're going to buy one or even two houses a year, it's going to take a while to build up that passive income, right? But what he's so if you want to go faster, that's where you need a business. And what Sam's done is kind of created a business using real estate.
Mm-hmm.
And the speed that he was able to create financial freedom was very cool, particularly because what's holding most people back is cash. And he talks about ways to that you not having money is not the problem.
Mm-hmm.
What was a couple takeaways you had, Cam?
Similar. I think the speed that you just touched on is one, and you know another word for that is just scaling. Right, is how he was able to go kind of from part-time to full-time in 2018 and then just take this thing and take it to where it is now. Scaling is great, man. He gives us a great analogy. He goes with the Burs strategy and he adds an S on it, and then he's got that S has an acronym.
Yeah, that was cool.
It was. And so he goes through that acronym that he's been able to kind of take. And like Anthony said, people get frustrated sometimes when they aren't going fast enough. Guys, enjoy this episode with Sam Primm of Sam at Faster Freedom. He's going to share some nuggets on his educational courses available. But he is also an active real estate investor. And to be honest, just a really good guy.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So enjoy this episode.
Welcome to the Infinite Wealth Podcast, where we teach clients how to build wealth and create passive income without the risk of Wall Street.
Sam, we are excited to have you here, right? I've been following you. We've been following you for a while on social media. You got a great influence, but an even better story. And so we look forward to kind of diving into that with you today. So, man, welcome. And if you could get started by just giving us a little bit of your background, kind of where you started this whole journey before real estate at.
Yeah, for sure. So my background's about as normal as it gets. It's nothing exciting. I don't have this cool, like hero story of overcoming all this stuff. I'm just a normal dude. I grew up, my dad was an engineer. My mom was a teacher. We grew up fine, nothing crazy. Went to school, went to college, got a job out of college, pretty much what, society tells most people to do. I was doing. As I kind of started to do that, I realized I kind of wanted more. I wanted to create more impact for myself, for the community, and just not have worked for somebody else for 40 years and give my kids, several $100,000 when I pass away. I wanted to kind of create more impact than that. So I started to invest in real estate on the side. And that side hustle turned into a full-time, career or business in real estate. And then that business turned into financial freedom. So nothing super exciting, but now it is exciting because I'm financially free through real estate without using any of my own money. So, it's kind of like a slow build up and boom, you're there, but it's been awesome.
You went real fast on that.
Yeah.
I think we're going to dive
we can
a little
break it down.
Yeah.
I got a question. When did you realize it wasn't for you? Right?
Yeah.
Is it day one? You walk in, you see the cubicle, and you're like, no, this isn't it. Or what happened?
Yeah, it really wasn't any like one moment. It was just more of just the seeing other people kind of create crazy things and thinking, could I do that? I grew up playing competitive sports and always wanting to be challenged and losing and trying again and working harder and shooting, baskets in the driveway, for 5 hours a day and just always wanting to improve. And then when I went to college and didn't play sports anymore and then had a job for a few years, I was kind of missing that competitive edge. It was a sales job and I was a sales manager. So that was fun, but it wasn't the same. It wasn't, that grind and that, I almost like, grinding and hustling. I know a lot of people say, once you become financially free or, work 4 hours a week, whatever that's just not me. And I'm learning that about myself more and more every day. I do pretty well for myself. And I still, up until I had a kid about 8 weeks ago, I was working 75 hours a week still. So I enjoy that. And the job wasn't given that for me. So I started to look for that outside the job and that kind of led into real estate.
It's kind of similar to Cameron's background of playing sports and losing. But congratulations on the baby.
Yeah, thank you very much. She's number 2. So I got a 5-year-old and an 8-week-old now. So yeah, it's interesting at the Primm house, that's for sure.
Absolutely. You kind of had this vision. I was thinking back, man, I was thinking back the moment when I realized I didn't want to be doing what I was doing. I was actually going to college and working at UPS from 2 in the morning
nice.
to 2 in the morning to 8 in the morning. And everybody is like, this could be your job, right? You could be a lifer. Yeah. And I remember looking around at all the drivers getting in and out of the trucks, man, and they had bad knees, bad backs. And I was like, get me out of here. Right. So mine was fear that was driving me. I didn't quite have the vision that Sam did. But
you're way too pretty to be doing that kind of stuff. Come on now. You don't need to be having bad knees and bad backs.
Oh, come on now. Come on now.
This is going to be fun.
Yeah.
You know, one thing I'm curious, I mean, that sounds a great story, particularly since we know that how well it worked out. Right. But I'm sure we go back in time when you're about to start that side hustle, or maybe when you're like, okay, it's time for me to quit my job. There had to be some fear, you know, of this unknown going on. And I'm sure there's a lot of people listening that are in a very similar situation, either right now or hopefully soon. What sort of advice would you give them if somebody's kind of on that fence and having a little fear about taking the next step?
Yeah, I got a couple just general pieces of advice, and then I can kind of narrow it down to what I did. Something I've noticed, and a lot of this stuff I feel like I've, since been doing social media and, answering questions and trying to think of good content, trying to go deeper, I've realized these things. And one of them, you guys know this, that fear is normal. Like if you don't have fear, then that's weird. So if you're trying to do something and there's no fear there, it's probably nothing substantial. So if you're going to do something substantial, you're going to have fear. Like it's part of the process. Like I teach like the Burs Method. It's almost like before the buy, rehab, rent, refinance, it's fear, buy, rehab, rent, refinance. It's just a part of it. It's like a stepping stone. Like you have to have it. If you don't have it, you're not gonna succeed. So like literally fear is a stepping stone to success. And then also the other thing that's kind of comforting to me is everybody that's been successful has had fear. Whoever you guys or me and you, Anthony, we look up to Cameron, but everybody else, whoever they look up to, whether it be Elon Musk or a political person or their parents, whoever you look up to, you think is strong and powerful and successful, they had fear, I promise, and probably a lot of it. So knowing that it's normal and knowing that every successful person went through it is just somewhat comforting to me. It doesn't take it away, but it just makes it a little more comfortable to me. Kind of overall. And then my specific was I wasn't one of those like, I feel like Grant Cardone or somebody's like jump in, whether there's water in the pool or not, just try it, you figure it out. I was a little more strategic than that. We had several, probably 20-ish rental properties and a few wholesales in the pipeline. And, this partnership we were doing with another gentleman who had a local flipping company. So I was, I didn't just jump blindfolded, without a parachute. I knew that I had, kind of everything set in place before I took that leap. So that was comforting for me as well, just having all that kind of stuff lined up ahead of time.
How did it become real estate as a side hustle? Were you looking at other ventures, other opportunities, and settled on that, or how'd you fall into it?
No, not really. About as boring as it can get, right? Rich Dad, Poor Dad. So my business partner, Lucas, who's my business partner in all this stuff that I do. He's the kind of back end operations guy. I'm a little more of the front end obnoxious guy. But I read that book on my honeymoon in 2011. Yep, I read that book in 2011 on my honeymoon. He gave it to me, and I read it, and we started talking, and then went back and forth, and just wanted to do stuff together. We had owned a painting business in college. We had done a few different, things on the side to try and make money, and then had our full-time jobs, and then started to kind of formulate this plan. Our plan was one house a year for 10 years and then start to pay it off. So we kind of exceeded those plans, but just kind of one of those things where I know that real estate creates wealth. I see the numbers, 90% of millionaires, and just seems like the easiest path. And it is to get there. I don't have to create an app or be super techie or, technology can't replace it. It's just a tried and true way to create wealth. And I just looked at it as a way for me to maybe retire a couple years earlier at first. And then it just kind of snowballed as I saw the power of it.
Well, how long did you do it part-time? You may have mentioned that. I might've missed it, but.
About 3 or 4 years. So 2014, we bought our first rental, but that was the end of the year. We technically got rented in like spring of 2015. So, and then I quit in spring of 2018. So 3 years, pretty much almost on the nose.
Awesome. So walk us through maybe that 2018, right? You step into kind of this role full time. You've already got some traction. You've got some stuff going. What did you kind of set out to accomplish more immediately?
Well, yeah, the immediate goal was I knew that spending my full energy on it, having 20 rentals or whatever it was, 20 or 25 in 3 years is pretty darn good.
Yeah.
But the way I did it with the Burs Method and using other people's money, there's equity, but there's not a ton of cash flow. And that's fine. It's a long-term gain, but it wasn't like those rentals could replace even a substantial portion of me or Lucas's income. So I knew that, that it was powerful. And I thought, how much can I do full time? We did 25, in 3 years part-time. How much can we do full time? So that was part of the really big thing for me. And the other part was I was trying to place my income. I did pretty well for myself. I was a sales manager, at 28, managing people twice my age, and was making pretty good money. And I didn't even hate my job. It just wasn't doing it for me. So my immediate goal was to add rentals and then replace my income or as get as close as I could. It took about a year and a half, probably to even get back to where I was. So I took probably about a $70,000 pay cut for the first year and a half. But then it started to kind of snowball from there. So I just have always kept the bigger picture in mind. Even doing real estate on the side, I remember my wife was like, "What are you doing this for? You're gone on the weekends, on the evenings, you make a lot of money in your current job, you're set. You kind of got to climb the corporate ladder already. Why are you doing this?" It led to some arguments and it led to some PowerPoint presentations by me. So I gave some PowerPoint presentations to lay out, this is what we're doing, this is where it's at, this is why we're doing it. And that really helped. So anyways, all that kind of combined into doing really well. And honestly, it's really snowballed the past 2 years. Even before that, we're doing okay, but I feel like the last couple of years have really gained some traction.
That's awesome. Just a sales guy at heart, right? Any objections, pulls out the spreadsheet and or the PowerPoint.
Like
Yeah,
I would have
PowerPoint.
pulled out the spreadsheet.
Yeah, exactly.
That would have been me, the spreadsheet guy.
Sam,
You're
you touched
freaking
on
the spreadsheets. I like it.
Oh man, yeah, everything's a spreadsheet. But Sam, you mentioned something there that I think is vital. That you often hear times, right? You'd mentioned, hey, we were able to buy some or acquire some properties without any money down. I think that's probably one of the biggest misconceptions that holds a lot of people back is you have to have capital to get started in this. Can you maybe touch on some of that, some of the opportunities that lie there and how you did it?
For sure. Yeah. So I right now own $40 million worth of rentals and I haven't used a dime of my own money to do it. So if I did it,
Not
anybody
a dime.
can do it. And I've done it. What's up?
So
Yeah.
not a dime. Like that's very interesting.
Not a dime. It's been houses, self-storage, and apartment complexes. So it works in pretty much any asset class that you can add value to and produces cash. So I knew that you could borrow money to like buy a house. I've seen, Flip or Flop on HGTV. I remember them going to some lawyer that gave them the money and they bought the house with his money and split the profit. So I knew you could do that. But when I first got started, my very first rental, I thought I was going to sell it. I was going to use a private lender that I had known for a couple of years to develop a relationship. I was going to use his money to buy it, his money to fix it up. I was going to sell it, give him his money back plus profit. And then whatever was left, I was going to put down on a property. So I thought that still you had to put 20% down on rentals. I didn't understand even when I got started, this refinance and this Burs method. But as I started to do that project, I met a gentleman who's my business partner now, the one we partner with on the flipping company. And he told me about the Burs method and the refinance step. So I can kind of quickly and simply walk through that method if you guys would like, or I don't know if your viewers are aware of it.
Well, they are, but Anthony's not. So if you could take a minute, that'd be great.
Yeah, I don't have a spreadsheet, Anthony, so just focus, okay? All right,
Try to follow along.
It's pretty simple, and I explain it a lot, so I feel like I can pretty concisely explain it. But basically, it's a way to buy rentals long term, kind of combining other people's money, equity, and bank. So what you do, simply, it's the Burs method. It stands for buy, rehab, rent, refinance, and scale. So what you do is you borrow money from a hard money lender, a private money lender, your own money if you want, because you'll get it back, equity. There's a lot of different places you can go. So you borrow money to buy a house that's distressed. Then you borrow that, that same person you borrowed the money to fix it up. So let's say you bought a house for $100,000 and it needs $50,000 worth of work. So you borrow $150,000 from a private lender. You buy it, you fix it up. So now you have a fixed up house What do you do with it? How are you going to pay them back? Well, you get it rented. You need it to start to produce cash because you're getting ready to take it to a bank. Bank's not going to lend you anything on a house that's not producing cash if you're not living in it. So you got $150,000 of your private lender's money in a house that you bought, fixed up, and got it rented. They'll actually do an 80% cash out refinance. This is the most important part. They will literally give you a loan for 80% of the value. And since you own it in cash, that's a check they're going to give you. There's no loan to pay off that, that they're tied to. So this house appraised for 200 grand. They gave me a check for 80% of that, 160. I owed my private lender 150 plus 10 grand in profit. So he gave me 150. 90 days later, I gave him 160. He made 10 grand on $150,000. He met me and he had 3 Guinnesses. I had 2 Tito's and clubs when he gave me the check. And when I gave him the check back 90 days later, we had drinks, and that was all he did. But then that $160,000 check that the bank gave me is a mortgage, and I owe that to the bank over 25 years at 4%, whatever it was at the time. And, that's a low payment. So the rent covers the mortgage and all owning expenses, a couple $100 a month cash flow, nothing to shake a stick at. But over time, it adds up because that property goes up in value, the mortgage gets paid down by the tenant, and you get cash flow. I call it the passive wealth trifecta, but over time, that adds up to a crap ton of money. So it's more of a long-term play, but it's not like you're getting a ton of money right away, but you're not using any of your own money, and you can use that same private lender, same bank as many times as you want until you hit the limit with the bank. So it's a long-term play, but it's not a get rich quick scheme. It's a get wealthy for sure plan kind of thing.
Now, how difficult? I mean, I'm familiar with some hard money lenders. Typically, they want you to have some skin in the game, and they're only putting maybe 80% down of either the purchase price or hopefully the after repairs value. How were you able to get a hard money lender to do 100% plus repairs?
So our first several loans were with private lenders. The private lenders are more relational based, much more flexible, and we were able to get 100% financing with that. And then with these hard money lenders, we had done deals with the private money lender, and they kind of wanted some of our business. And if you develop a relationship with them, and this was a couple of years ago, and now it's maybe a little bit tighter. But now we use private lenders because we have quite the network of them. But at first, they saw that we had experience. We met them. We showed them a business plan. We showed them, we were going to buy a lot of properties. If they wanted some of our business, this is what we kind of expected. Their rates were for sure higher, and they're, you owe them monthly payments. But we were able to get it done because we bought the properties cheap enough. The hard money companies, they don't want to take the property back. They're just making an arbitrage, and they're happy to do that. So if you can show them that, hey, this house is going to be worth 300 grand, I'm going to be all in for 225 grand, that's a ton of spread that your loan is not in risk. So that kind of worked for us. St. Louis is a pretty good market for that. I would say some people that, don't have the money or the private lender is going to require some down, use a home equity line of credit or credit in a business or something, because you're going to get it back, or it can be your cash. I said none of my own cash. That's long term. Maybe our first loan with a private lender, second one we came out of pocket $5 grand, for the down payment or for some rehabs, but we got it back on the refinance and then some. So it's just out of pocket short term. So $5 grand out of pocket or 10 grand to make the deal whole. And then when you refinance that step, if you run your numbers right, you'll get 15 grand back, so you can make money if you want.
Now, Sam, I know you, and unlike my friend here, you don't like bragging on yourself. But if you could, you shared with us 40 million. What is your monthly cost, right, to repay that 40 million? And then what are you profiting? I don't know if that's something you're willing to share.
Yeah, I'm an open book, and I wish I knew that number better. We bought 20 million in the past 12 months. So our books are catching up, but I can give you, I know what it is on the spreadsheet, and we're pretty darn close. It's probably, we're conservative, so it's probably more than this, but I'll run through what the spreadsheet says. So in kind of generalities, that $40 million worth of real estate, I owe about 25 million on it. Me and Lucas do, between some mainly bank debt and a little bit of private lender debt. And that costs us a little over $100,000 in mortgages. And we collect about $250,000 a month in rent. So there's that nice $150,000 spread, but that gets eaten up a lot by, taxes we have to pay at the end of the year, maintenance, insurance, vacancy. We try to account for everything, current costs and future costs that will come out of pocket, because, when we buy these, beauty of the Burs Method is you're rehabbing them and you're getting in there. You're making sure there's little to no maintenance or minimal maintenance, so you're not having to spend money the first several years you own it, because cash flow is tight. And so we got that, that $150,000 spread between the mortgage and what we're collecting. But I would say on average, it's probably somewhere around $35,000 to $40,000 net that we collect every single month. But that just stays in there. It's just it's in the big account now, but it's more than that because, you accrue for real estate tax you pay at the end of every year and all that kind of stuff. So the account looks huge, but a lot of that comes out. I mean, we paid $300,000 in real estate tax at the end of last year. So the account was big and then it got smaller, but it's probably less than some people think for 40 million. But again, none of your own money. And over time, that's just gonna, if I stop buying now, I did the math and conservatively, if I stop buying now, right now, in 20 years, that 40 million would conservatively, because it's apartments and storage that's going to go up and the housing market will be fine. It's going to be worth 80 to 90 and I'll owe, maybe 5. So it's powerful over time, but the cash flow usually doesn't blow somebody's doors off of, but it's not about that.
No, man, I appreciate you being an open book and sharing those numbers with us. And the reason I was asking is because right before that, you kind of described the Burs Method, right? And which is not kind of built on cash flow or anything like that. And so I was going to ask how you're able to scale, because you'd also said that you added an S, I think I heard there, to the Burs Method that you described earlier. So the Burs Method is one, and then, man, you had this huge scaling up. How were you able to do that?
Well, let me put on my glasses, Anthony.
Yeah,
I'll get
there
a
we
little more
go.
technical with it.
Here we go.
Yeah, so I, started talking about this so I've been doing social media for about a couple of years now. I started talking about it, and the Burs Method just kind of got people's attention. I remember I'm going to go on TikTok to try to push my Instagram and YouTube that I just started. And I'm going to post one a day for 30 days. It's TikTok. It's weird. I don't know what's going on here, but I'm going to try it. And then I think my 5th video got 100,000 views. And I think my biggest YouTube at that point, it was a couple months old, had like 150 views. So I was like, holy cow. And I just was trying to figure out why. And it was just this other people's money part of it and the Burs Method. So I went hard into that. And that's what I was doing a lot of. And it was buy, rehab, rent, refinance, and repeat. And repeat, to me, just go back and do what you did, wasn't teeth sink inable. That's probably not a word, Anthony. I'll take off my glasses to say that word. That's probably more of a human word. Teeth sink inable. So it wasn't actionable. So I got with my team and we play with a few things, and people want to scale. I feel like most people that follow me and you guys don't want to own one, they want to own 10 or 100. So scaling is something that people struggle with. So how can we help people tangibly scale? So I changed it to buy, rehab, refinance, rent, or buy, rehab, rent, refinance, and scale. And scaling is bigger, better, faster, stronger, more efficiently, so you can do more of it. And that scale is an acronym. So I'll simply try to go through that. And I feel like this scale thing is kind of becoming a calling card for me. I'm writing a book about it and doing a lot of content on it. And that scale is a way to scale. So it stands for systems, is the S. It's not fun. Anthony probably thinks it's fun. Cameron and myself don't. But if you can create systems, it takes time and energy, especially at first. But if you can create systems around each step, you're naturally going to get quicker at it, right? So if you can create systems around the buy step, you have, people, you have money you can borrow from, you have sources to find deals. So you can create systems around buying, obviously systems around rehabbing more efficient. So not to go down the whole bird, but if you can create systems around each step, you're going to be able to scale quicker, right? The C is coaching. You got to get coaching. You got to listen to free podcasts like your guys. You got to, take mentorships. It's got to be free or paid, preferably paid. I don't know one super successful real estate investor who doesn't pay for some type of coaching or mastermind. So systems, get some coaching and lean on other people's. The C, the A is action. The only thing that separates me from most people, I feel like, that kind of want to get to somewhere, where I'm at or further, is taking action. We learn so much on the job. I teach people so much for free, so much in the mentorship, but you're going to learn 80% of it on the job. So systems, coaching, action, then lead flow. Got to increase your lead flow either by networking or spending money if you want to buy more. It's a numbers game. If you want to buy 10 houses this year, you can't look at 10. You probably got to look at 100. So you got to be systematic about increasing your lead flow. And then E is extra funding. You don't just need one funding source, you need extra funding sources. So when you get a deal, you can finance it. So obviously there's a lot more nuances to it, but if you want to scale, you follow those processes. It takes time and energy and discipline, but it's how I've done it. And it's how a lot of people I know outside of, my little, community and inside the community are scaling. It takes time, but it really starts to snowball once you do it right. So there was all that. I'll take these off. That was too much technicality. My head hurts.
Yeah, I could see why you put the glasses on for that. Well done. I got a question for you. So that was awesome. I love that piece there on scaling. I'm trying to think of a negative that comes along with scaling. And the first thing that came to me was some people will classify debt as good debt versus bad debt. What's your 2 cents on that? Is there bad debt?
Yes, I believe so. I think there's good debt and bad debt, and I am a fan of both. If and I'll caveat that with, if they're managed well. So, there's a way that I see something's good debt or bad debt. So debt is borrowing money to purchase something. That I think we all can agree on that. And bad debt would be like a credit card debt or your car or your house, because to me, bad debt is something, your house is a little bit different, but bad debt is something that goes down in value and does not produce cash. So therefore, good debt should be something that will go up in value and produce cash, like an apartment complex or a single family rental or a business. If it produces cash and goes up in value, it's good debt and it will create wealth. If it doesn't produce cash and or doesn't go up in value, it's bad debt, and that's not a bad thing, but it's not going to produce wealth. Like my car, I have a few cars. I borrow money at 1%. Inflation's like 8 right now. So I borrow money for that. I have a mortgage on my house. Like, bad debt's okay. It's just not a wealth creator. And as long as you can manage it, I think that's fine. Credit card debt. Spend a lot of money on credit cards every month and I make a lot of money on points. So I just say, like everything in life, especially debt, if you manage it properly and have the right expectations, I think they're both okay. The whole world is based on debt. Dave Ramsey, I like him as a business owner. We spent like $50,000 sending some of our employees to his Entree Leadership Summit last couple of weeks ago. So I'm a fan of his as a business, but his mindset of no debt is, I always tell people, he teaches people that are bad with money to not be poor. I teach people that are willing to take, some chances how to create wealth. So if you want to not be poor, follow Dave Ramsey. If you want to create wealth, I can help you do that. So it's just kind of a different mindset, and debt's the way to do it. That's how businesses start. I mean, what Apple's, I think, sitting on $200 billion in cash, and they have a lot of debt. They don't pay off that debt because they know they can leverage quicker with that debt.
Well said, Sam. I couldn't agree with you more. Is one of the things we often tell people is if we're trying to get to a place, financial freedom, right? There's really two greatest things that you can look at is going to be business and or real estate, and a combination of both of them is best case scenario.
Nice. I like your guys' logo. I was staring at Anthony's hair. I didn't even notice your guys' logo back there. It looks good.
My hair is distracting, but thanks. Did you mean the infinite wealth or the passive income is more than monthly expenses?
I was doing the infinite wealth. I figured like we picked on Cameron too much, so I had to give some shade.
No, that's impossible. Cameron's got very thick skin. It's very
Those
beautiful,
people,
but
they
it's
can
thick.
take it, right? It's thick and beautiful. Those confident people, they need to be knocked down a level. I get it. I do it all the time. People are like, why are you mean to that person? Because they need to be knocked down. They're all right. They can handle it.
Exactly. Because the real answer is jealousy of his hair. But you know what? I like yours better. Right.
I'm not as good as Cameron's, but mine's better than Anthony's. I'm in between.
Yeah, like middle of the road.
Wow. Normally I'm not, my hair doesn't really come into play, but I guess I'm asking for it by making fun of Cameron's.
Sam, I love it, man. I love kind of hearing what you've done in a very short period of time. What do you kind of see next? What are some of the goals that you guys are achieving to or climbing to or trying to reach here in the next few years?
Yeah, so I love this question. I'll try not to ramble too much, but it's kind of try to hopefully provide a little bit of insight as well. So I always set goals. Lucas and I set goals in all our companies. We own 5 different real estate investing companies, and we set goals, and you want it to be achievable but challenging. And we seem to keep setting goals, and we keep kind of blowing past them. Our last year, our 3-year goal was to get to $26 million in real estate, and I guess probably like maybe 10 months later, we're at 40 million, and we had, a lot more runway to get there. So, and our house buying company, I think the goal last year was 200 and we did 250. So we keep just kind of exceeding these goals. So we're like, let's put something out there that is super, super hard and crazy. So we're wanting to grow all of our businesses. We have 44 employees. We want to have 100 in next year at some point, continue to grow that. But our big goal is to bring a NBA team to St. Louis. So St. Louis is where we live. We're always going to live here. It's not the most exciting city, but we like it. And it'd be just kind of I don't know how to say it, but it would just prove that we've done what we wanted. So what do we want to do? We want to improve St. Louis. We want to provide jobs. We want to make the city better. We want to put it on the map. you're not going to be able to bring an MBA team in unless you've done that. We've had to make connections with high-powered people, with athletes, with people in the city, improve the city. We would have to do a lot to lure that MBA team in, a new one probably, if that would ever happen. I know that's the pie in the sky goal, but it kind of, if we do that, that means we would have done a lot of other really cool stuff. And I even had a thought last night that I haven't even told anybody about yet, except Lucas. You know how the Green Bay Packers are owned by like the people, right? There's no owner. What if, and this, I don't know what will social media be in 20 years, but what if we were able to raise the money through social media? So I, accredited investors, and I raise the money to buy the team, whatever percentage down the bank needs, because they're going to fund the rest of it. And then so people around the whole country owned a teeny percent of this NBA team. That would create a bunch of buzz, that would create a bunch of, talk on social media, and there'd be fans all over the country. Just in St. Louis would be, the fans will grow over time. But if your buddy owns 0.0015% of an NBA team, you're going to follow that team. So anyway, just things like that. I'm always looking to expand, but we've decided not to sell ourselves short and shoot for the moon, and we'll see where we land.
Well, I tell you what I like is that your goals are, well, first of all, you're writing down your goals, which is very important. But what I like is some of these, you're thinking outside the box, but also this big goal you had, it really wasn't personal. It was really about serving the community and serving others, which is fantastic.
Our mission statement is to positively impact and inspire the community, and that's what we do in all of our businesses. So whether it be the local community or national community.
Awesome, man. Where does that come from? So it's
just something we've really, Lucas and I are both 34. Our business partner in a couple of our businesses, Brian, he is in his early 50s, and he's kind of really instilled in, us just young, wanting to go crazy, making sure you have the right culture and things like that set in place. And we've taken that and ran with it. So, we got our core values and our mission statement throughout our whole office building. We just moved in about 6 months ago to this 24,000 square foot office building. So all our companies can be under one roof and expand, and we hire, fire, promote everything through those core values. I don't really even honestly care too much about someone's skill set. If they have the right core value and they're going to work hard, we'll make it work. So that just is at the crux of everything in serving the community. And the more, our number one core value is mindset of abundance. The more you have that, the more you're willing to give and not expect anything in return. The more you're willing to not stab somebody in the back to gain an extra dollar. The more you don't worry about collecting every penny. It's insane. It's like a waterfall of money. If your goal is money, stop worrying about money. Try to help people. I promise you'll have more money what to do with it, rather than trying to pinch every penny. So those are, like I said, the kind of things that I think have led to all the success we've recently had, and hoping to continue to have, is just not, trying to just be authentic and real, and not try to worry about, every little penny and every little deal, make it a win-lose deal. It can be a win-win every time.
That's cool, man. I was going to say, in our role here, we've had pretty great opportunities to meet some pretty wealthy and successful people. And what you just touched on there, I think, is a common theme. A lot of people have kind of this vision that's greater than themselves. Right, which allows them to do that. And man, you've got it. I appreciate you sharing that. Thanks.
Yeah, no problem.
Now, Sam, one thing you talked about earlier was the importance of getting education and coaching and learning. And I know you've been an open book on the podcast. I know you're also an open book on your social media. You want to share kind of what people can learn if they choose to follow you? I know you got a really strong Instagram channel.
Yeah, for sure. So if you want to follow me, my big ones are TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram. Those are my three main platforms. It's at Sam Faster Freedom. So my education brand is Faster Freedom. My name is Sam. So I didn't want it to be like, my name as the brand. I want it to live beyond me. I want to bring other people on social media, so it's not just all about me, so it can kind of grow and be beyond me, like a bigger pockets type brand. So it's at Sam Faster Freedom on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram. Those are my main ones. I kind of am doing Twitter and Facebook a little bit now. So just whatever your top two things you go to. If you're never on Twitter, don't follow me on Twitter. But if you like Twitter more than Instagram, follow me there. So I just try to provide as much value as I can. I try to do a lot of mindset things and set people up for success. I get crap from it from some of the other influencers, educators in the space, about how much I give away for free, how much I go live and answer questions, how much I teach it all on the smart board. But it's starting to pay off with people actually interested in paying me money for their services. So my goal is just to provide as much free value as I can, actionable, tangible things. Like I'm just a regular dude who's kind of figured a few things out and kind of like some secrets that I feel like they don't tell us for some reason. And I want more people to have that. So if I just lead with that, eventually enough people will trickle down and they'll want to, be involved with me at a further level. So yeah, I just teach everything from mindset to tactically how to do it. Cause I'm actively doing, I'm probably, like we said, we don't brag, me and Anthony don't brag, but I'm probably a little bit more active of an investor than a lot of people that teach it. I didn't write a book 10 years ago that I'm living off of. I'm actively investing and actually going in more to investing as I teach. So it's kind of rare to find somebody so in the investing space as well as the education space and can kind of mingle the two and really have the best of both worlds when you're doing both rather than somebody else is doing it. I'm just going to talk about it.
It's funny, when we started Infinite Wealth, Anthony wanted to call it Anthony Faso Inc.
Doesn't surprise me.
It is Anthony J. Faso CPA Inc. To be technical.
Perfect. That could be that could be the the actual technical name. Like our technical LLC name is WAP Properties, and we get crap for that all the time because of that Cardi B song that came out.
It's one of Cam's favorites. Yeah.
It's actually wasnt Primm Properties, and it was started in 2015, and Cardi B came out with that song in 2019, I think. So we sent her a cease and desist. No, I'm kidding. We didn't do that, but that's part of the reason that's our LLC's names, but we changed our name to, like, our tennis notes as Midwest Property Group right now, not WAP, because our maintenance people would be like, all the time we're getting like, did you name your company after that song? And so anyways, we just kind of a funny note, we changed it, but it was WAP Properties, what it was for a while.
That song's got a good beat. But Sam, before we kind of sign off here, man, give us a success story, man. What can you tell us about somebody that's gone to Faster Freedom University and had some success? What can you share with us?
For sure. Yeah. So Faster Freedom University in this current mentorship format, it's been around 6 months, and we have a lot of students that one student's got 8 deals, another student's got 6. We got, just last week, somebody posted in our Facebook group that they got $25,000 over what they need for the appraisal. So we have a lot of initial success, but kind of how Faster Freedom originated was I started posting on Facebook, just my personal account, about some of the stuff we were doing in early 2020. And somebody I went to high school with, his name was Cam. He's a few years younger than me, so we didn't really know each other, but we knew each other. He reached out to me. He was living in Denver at the time, and he's aware of me sharing the story. He was making $45,000 a year as a pastor. He was Ubering to try and make ends meet. He was selling stuff on Craigslist, and then his daughter actually had an allergic reaction to peanuts that they didn't know about. She's fine, everything's okay, but they were stuck with a $15,000 out of pocket bill that they had to pay, and they're like, I don't know what to do. So he's like, my family's in St. Louis, I'm moving back, I'd like to meet with you and talk about real estate. So we met for breakfast. I explained to him what I was doing. He's like, I didn't know you owned 100 houses at the time. And he's like, you don't talk about that enough. You need to get that word out more. And I was like, okay, I will. And then I ended up kind of bringing him under my wing, inviting him to the meetup. And he was kind of my first student that I didn't really have students at the time. I did it for free with him. But what happened to him is a perfect case study. So he didn't come from money. He had 0 rentals, making 45 grand a year, and he had a negative net worth, actually. That was in May of 2020. Fast forward to May of 2022, he has 36 rental properties. He's wholesaled over 125 properties, and he's rehabbed 25, and he makes, let's just say, at least 10 times what he used to make. So, and his net worth is worth $3.5 million. So in those 2 years, he was able to create literally generational wealth. And I noticed that about 8 months ago. So then I started to develop a program around that, a mentorship. So he's like the initial success story that kind of spurred it all. And he's actually the main coach of the mentorship program, because he's just pastors, or a lot of them are really charismatic and entertaining and care. And he's a phenomenal coach. So anyways, he was the perfect success story. His life turned around in 2 years. He could retire now if he wants to. Not everybody can do it that quickly. He's a super talented guy, but he's an example of what's possible, and you don't have to come from money to do it.
What I'm hearing, what he did, he was open to learn. He got some coaching or mentorship, and the most importantly, he took action. And it sounds like he took it to the extreme. That's a pretty cool story. I can see why you call it faster freedom, because that is pretty darn fast.
Yeah, it's a path, and real estate in general. I didn't, obviously, I'm just trying to like get it to where it's understandable. But yeah, real estate, it's one of those. I'm actually, the last thing is I'm writing a book, and one of the chapters on, there's no such thing as a get rich quick scheme. And then at the end of it, I'm like, actually, there is. Like, you can create wealth in 2 years and 5 years. That's quick. Depending on your time, your concept of time, you can create 40 years worth of wealth in 5 years if you do things the right way. That's quick. So there is a get rich quick scheme, and it's real estate. But obviously that's kind of a not actual. It's kind of tongue in cheek. But yeah, you're right. It can happen extremely fast if you do it the right way, and it's pretty impactful. And it can. I always say I want to pay for my great grandkids' college kind of wealth. So and impact.
I love that. Sam, we got to bring you back next time, and I will share with you the success of my mentorship. It's about a young man named Anthony Faso.
I love it. I'm here anytime you guys want.
Awesome, man. We'll have to bring you back. But one last time before we sign off, man, if you could give us just your social media handles, and we'll make sure that we add those in the notes.
Awesome. Just at Sam Faster Freedom on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Technically, it's one character too long, so it's just at Faster Freedom. But if you type in at Sam Faster Freedom, that's like my name, it'll pop up. So at Sam Faster Freedom on all the socials. Pick your favorite 3 and follow me there. I'd love to help you out.
Awesome, Sam.
Okay.
Thanks so much, man. I appreciate your time.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Go make it a fantastic day.
Take care.
Thanks for listening, and be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on the next episode. Also, check out our website, infinitewealthconsultants.com, to find our podcast along with other additional resources.